The supplement market is very murky and there's a lot of lack of regulation on things. And there's also the actual ingredients that you're getting. There's often fillers and lubricants in them that can be benign, but they also can be problematic. And especially for people who are really sensitive to things like me, it was hard to find things that didn't have all these other things that when you just want like the main ingredient that you want.
This is the Home of Healthspan podcast, where we profile health and wellness role models, sharing their stories and the tools, practices, and routines they use to live a lively life. Melanie Avalon, it is great to see you after many, many back and forths, and I will do my best to not make this a Taylor Swift fan club podcast episode.
Oh my goodness. We could, Andrew. We could just this could be a Taylor Swift episode. I'd be down.
I think every episode could be a Taylor Swift episode. You know, I always thought it would be fun once a year if it was a musical day and like your whole life was just a musical. You know how sitcoms will do that for one episode a season? Like that would be so fun for the day, and just have a Taylor Swift themed musical day of your life. And just like sing your life. Yeah. We should do that. We should orchestrate that. I think that we could film fun. It. Forget flash mobs. Like, I know. Let's do a musical day. Yes, I'm down. Sign me up. I'm there. Let's do it. All right. So very, very different beginning than many others. But Melanie, before we get into all the things, and you really have all the things, how would you describe yourself? I'm a lively biohacker, podcaster, author, influencer, and entrepreneur. And she is. She does all of these things very, very well. And we will get into that. It's incredibly impressive. If you have not listened to Melanie's biohacking podcast, I will say she has the top guest in the world, which clearly I do because Melanie's here today. But not only does she have the top guest, but every single one of them says, oh my God, I've never been on a podcast where the host is as well researched as you. I mean, Melanie goes in to the footnotes and then the studies in the footnotes, reads the studies and comes back with questions. Like, wow, yeah, I've never seen anybody go to that depth. So Melanie really, really knows what she's talking about, and why I'm so excited to have her here today to talk to us. So thank you. First of all, thank you so much for having me. Thank you for being the awesome human that you are. Thank you for the support you give me. So for listeners, Andrew, he'll text me, he'll listen to an episode and comment on what he loved about it. And it's just so amazing. I love that you're into all these things, and I'm all about it. So thank you. Yeah. And you are all about it. I mean, the first time we met in person, you brought me spirulina, you brought me all sorts of good things because you were literally in it. I mean, when you say entrepreneur, there are many, many different flavors to that in your different businesses. But one is your whole supplement line, AvalonX, right? Yes, indeed. It's funny. The word entrepreneur, it took me a while to embrace it. I never saw myself as an entrepreneur, but then I was looking at everything I was doing and I was like, oh, I guess I'm an entrepreneur. And then I had a piece published in Entrepreneur, and I was like, okay, I guess we are an entrepreneur now. Yeah. Actually, it was creating the supplement line that really made me feel like one, because that was my first physical product creation, and it's been a whirlwind and a blast. Well, first of all, because supplements are such a huge part of the health sphere, and I have a lot of opinions about them. And I really couldn't find anything that would meet my criteria. So I was like, I'll just make my own. So here we are. Not being in plastic. So can you talk about some of the things that you try to incorporate when you were doing that? Yeah. So the supplement market is very murky and there's a lot of lack of regulation on things. And there's also the actual ingredients that you're getting. There's often fillers and lubricants in them that can be benign, but they also can be problematic. And especially for people who are really sensitive to things like me, it was hard to find things that didn't have palmitates or stearates or rice or all these other things that when you just want the main ingredient that you want. So that was the first thing, was the fillers and the lubricants. And then actually testing the ingredients for purity and potency, because really it comes down to trust. You're just trusting these brands that what is in the bottle is what they say. There are some shocking studies, especially on melatonin supplements. There's one study where they looked at, I don't know how many brands, I don't know, dozens of brands. And it was 100x difference. Yeah. And it could have 100th of what it said it did or 100 times what it said it did. It's crazy. And melatonin is a hormone. So you can't just be that casual with having the wrong amount. Some of them even had other
sleep promoting ingredients in them. Like they said it was just melatonin, but it actually had like other things in there that were relaxing which is just really frustrating.
Well, and it's not a one and done too. So, I mean, recently a couple of things came up. A lot of people were pushing Nordic Naturals for the omega-3s, fish oil. And then I think Rhonda Patrick had it and she's like, yeah, when I tested 4 years ago, it was great, but then they couldn't keep up with production and now it's oxidizing. And like, here's where it is now. I can't vouch for it like I could 4 years ago. And right now, I don't know if you've been following, there's a very well influencer promoted protein bar that I bought an inordinate amount of, that after they launched, they went and changed the ingredient to move to cheaper ingredients and did a bunch on the formulation that wasn't what they launched with in the story they told. So just because maybe you did the vetting initially on some products doesn't mean they stick to their guns on this stuff, which is scary.
Okay, I'm dying to know which one it is.
I will tell you after we stop recording.
Okay. Yeah. It's funny. That's so ironic because I feel like with my brand, it's the opposite. Like I want to launch with it amazing. And then I just want to improve from there. So it's really upsetting that it would be the opposite for people where they would, create it, get the branding, get the loyalty, and then sneakily switch out things.
And with supplements, I mean, obviously the idea is they supplement on top of and in addition to whatever the base is. And what I love about your show and your approach is, I mean, you get the experts on all sides. Like I've listened to Dr. Greger on your show, who we've also had. I've listened to Paul Saladino on your show. So we go from whole food plant-based to carnivore, and maybe later we throw some berries in. Like it's an evolving target over there. And as you speak to these people, but then also do the deep research you do, where have you landed on how you approach nutrition, both in your base as well as the supplementation on top of that?
Yeah. So you touched on so many things and nailed it. Well, to address the supplementation part first, since that's what we're talking about. So I feel like in our dream world, our musical world where we're like singing and everything, we would get all of our nutrients from food. Like we wouldn't need supplements. But with the modern farming system and the food quality that we're exposed to, it can be hard to get all the nutrients you need. So I do think supplementation definitely has a role, especially for some key nutrients. And then on top of that, for people in pursuit of longevity, there's quite a few supplements that you're not going to get them in that concentrated form from food that may have really beneficial effects for that. So I am pro supplementation. I also feel like I'm not about like all the supplements all the time, and I'm not about supplements replacing food. I'm about them filling in the gap and then optimizing. So that's where I land on supplements. For the food question, I am so haunted by this because, like you just touched on, there are so many opinions that make very valid cases for everything, and everything seems to work for everybody. Not everything for everybody, but all the things seem to work for some people at some time. So I think where I've landed, like you said, I like interviewing people of all different opinions and seeing what resonates, seeing what tracks and lands and find what works for me. Cause I do think we're very individual when it comes to diet. Like I know you and I have really different diets. Like I eat, we have some similar tenets that I can like touch on, but cause you're more on the like plant-based side of things, right?
And
like you eat
pounds of meat.
Right? I'm like pounds of meat. Yeah. So, but I think where we overlap, and I do think there are a few central tenets I've landed on that seem to appear in all the different diets, which is the role of whole foods, not the store, but like non-processed foods. Yep. I think that's a great, first place to start. And within that, I do think protein intake is really important. I'm like laughing and pausing because I'm haunted by the question of ideal protein intake. You and I have talked about this too, I think.
An mTOR activation. Yeah. Like it's, I don't know. Right. I'm totally with you on this.
You interview people or talk to people like, Dr. Gabrielle Lyon and like you said, Paul Saladino, and a lot of people in the keto world, the paleo world, and they're all very pro protein intake. And then you interview people like you're saying, like Dr. Michael Greger, Neil Bernard, like the more vegan, like even Walter Longo. Yeah. And they're all about lower protein intake for longevity. When I interviewed Dr. Michael Greger recently, he was making the case that protein is the single thing most correlated to aging, like, more protein. I think adequate protein intake is super important. I think like supporting muscle is so key for metabolism, supporting metabolic health, all of those things. I think there's a problem with a lot of the high protein studies looking at negative effects with longevity, because if you're just doing like correlational data and studying that, people on high protein intakes are probably eating like a high calorie intake. Like if you're just looking at a general population, there's not a lot of people doing like high protein, low calorie, or like high protein with fasting. It's if they're high protein and you're just looking at the population.
And on the fasting, you do OMAD, right? You're a 1 meal a day. Yeah.
Yeah. And so where I've landed for me personally is fasting every day. So reducing mTOR, which is a growth pathway stimulated by protein intake, reducing IGF-1, stimulating AMPK, which helps support longevity during the fasted state and combat all of that. And then in my 1 meal a day eating window, which is around 4 or 5 hours, I eat a really high protein diet. Oh, I have to tell you this. Did I tell you my results, or did you listen yet? Has it aired? Have you heard me talk about my True Diagnostic results?
Is that was the gut health one where like scallops showed up and
no. So that's,
okay.
There's so many tests. That is Victus 88.
Yeah. The Victus, that's the one that I listened to before the one today with Ian Clark.
Okay.
I don't know if I heard this other one.
Okay. I don't know if it's aired. I don't think it has. Like I said, I've been haunted by this protein question for so long. I literally ask it to every guest I think might have an opinion on it, their thoughts. Because I feel like I want to have like an anti-aging diet and lifestyle, and am I eating too much protein is my question. So I interviewed on the Intermittent Fasting podcast, Dr. Matt Dawson. He is the founder of Wild Health, as well as founder or CEO of Wild Health and a company called True Diagnostic. They make I should introduce you to him. I should definitely introduce you. He would love to come on this show.
Okay.
His company provides access to 3 epigenetic age tests. One is made with Harvard, one's with Duke, and one's with another college. And they look at your epigenetic aging. So, how are you actually aging, your biological age, all those things. And they're very data driven. I had him on the show. He told me my results were some of the best he's ever seen. And he's like the CEO, founder of the company. So I feel so much better about my high protein intake. It must be okay. Because like epigenetically, I'm not aging that fast.
Yeah, I mean, we'll get to this when we do the mindset side too, but I was having a conversation last night. The very Ellen Langer approach that it's the story we tell is way more impactful than the thing, right? If you believe cleaning these hotel rooms or exercise, you end up burning more calories and lowering your glucose levels and all this. Whereas if you believe you're not, then you end up at a totally different space. So if you believe what you're doing is healthy, it's quite possible your body is processing in a different way. And that's a good chunk of the story right there. So I'm curious, you eat a bunch of meat. I've heard like scallops reference and others. You make sure you get turmeric in there. I hear you eat a lot of turmeric, blueberries. Like what is in that 4 to 5 hour window? What are the foods? I understand they're whole foods, but what kind of foods are you getting in there?
Yeah, so you nailed it pretty well. Also, one really quick comment on the thing about the mindset. Literally just yesterday, one of the books I'm reading right now is called Ageless Aging. And she was it's focused on like women aging and ageism, like the concept of like being prejudiced against people for their age. But they've done a study, and your perspective on aging actually influences your aging. So if you're like, if you don't have a negative perspective of aging, it's like beneficial for your aging. So
Ellen Langer has a new book out on this, but she's the one that did the studies where she took like these 80-year-olds and put them in the summer camp environment where this was pre-internet, where you could just like get a Spotify playlist, but like all the music from when they were growing up, all the posters, everything about, and by the end they were acting like 12-year-olds. Like these people who could barely walk, all this, they were carrying their bags off the bus. Like it was completely transformative. And it makes you question how much is this story we tell ourselves of what age actually means and is.
I love it so much. Also to that point, one of the other studies, she was saying that listening to younger music or current popular music apparently is really good for your brain and aging. So Taylor Swift.
You nailed that.
Here we go. Bring it all full circle. Okay, so I love fish and seafood. I think it has, going back to the like an ideal protein source, I think fish is amazing for that. You touched earlier on the Nordic naturals and the omega-3s. So getting that omega-3, omega-6 balance, the like the amino acid profile, like the rich in glycine. The problem is fish and our oceans are so polluted. So, and I've had mercury toxicity in the past. So I am neurotic about only eating certain types of fish. Neurotic. Because I think people see a piece of fish on their plate and they don't realize just how, because you don't see mercury. So you don't realize like how much mercury can be in a piece of fish. So I eat a lot of like shellfish, scallops, shrimp, and then this brand of fish called the Better Fish. They have it at Costco. It's a barramundi. Normally barramundi would be higher mercury, but they farm raise it, which I have like thoughts on that, but they sustainably raise it in tanks, and the majority of fish get mercury from their diet. So if they're feeding the fish this feed that's mercury free, they actually test their fish to be free of mercury. So I eat that. And then salmon. I actually do prefer farm salmon over wild salmon because of the mercury content. If it's sustainable, I get it at Whole Foods. So a lot of fish and stuff. And then chicken, beef, lots of cucumbers, blueberries, ginger. It's a lot of food. It takes a long time to eat all of it.
Yeah, but I mean, that's where they do say, right, you're trying to get 30 different kinds of foods in a week. And I think we're probably pretty similar, and we eat consistently the same thing, but you get so many different things. Like my salad has 4 different kinds of lettuce, plus pepper, plus tomatoes, plus cucumber, plus flaxseed, plus after listening to Dr. Geiger on your show, wheat germ, and like all the things. So each salad has 23 ingredients in it, plus the turmeric. Like I sit there and shave it and put the cracked pepper on. So getting all the things into one. So it's a lot, but I think having that variety is important.
No, it's funny. I struggle with this because I don't break out much outside of what I eat. So I feel like I could have more variety. At the same time, I feel like, I don't know, like when I get my blood panels, everything looks good. I feel nourished. I crave certain things at certain times, like certain proteins. So I do feel good about it. And when I was interviewing the like co-authors or the Mind Diet, which is like the diet most studied for, I don't know if you listened to that episode.
I did. The 2 ladies, right? The lady whose mom started it. And
Yes. I was so excited for that episode because I've been researching the Mind Diet for so long. And so that was really an amazing interview. But I was pretty good on their test of like all the foods to support your brain, like blueberries, red wine, like all these, and I've since added a little bit of olive oil. So yeah, I feel good.
So but I do want to talk about the supplements, but maybe before we talk about which ones you do, you mentioned the mercury toxicity in the past, and then supplements to fill gaps. Mm-hmm. Do you do periodic blood work or check other markers to try to identify what those gaps are, to figure out, I need D this time of year, or I need to supplement with whatever it is to top things up?
Yeah. So I do. I love getting regular blood work. I think it's so helpful, especially it's also really fun, especially if you do follow, like you and I do, like I don't want to say controlled, but we're really conscious about what we put in our mouths. And so for me, I can see how things change on my blood work. And I find that just fascinating. When it comes to gaps, there are a few things that I think people often are deficient in. So I pay attention to them, and I encourage other people to as well. So that's things like magnesium. And for testing that, you want to test RBC magnesium, not just blood magnesium, because you want to see what actually is like in the actual cell. Vitamin D, like you're mentioning, certain times of the year, that would be something to look at. I found actually when I interviewed that Dr. Matt Dawson and did his wild health test, which I really liked his service because it was a full blood panel, also a genetic panel, and they gave you a really like nuanced interpretation of where you were at and how it compared to your genetics and your epigenetics. It was great. That made me realize that I should be supplementing methylated folate, for example, because of my like MTHFR mutation leading to homocysteine issues.
Which, by the way, don't like 35 or 40% of us have that, because I have the same, right? I feel like it's a very high percentage people have that.
Yeah. And it's something, I'm glad you mentioned that, because I've been really familiar with that for over a decade. I think probably found out about it like a decade ago, and I wrote this blog post. I went down the rabbit hole. I thought I was like cursed. And at the same time, so it is something a lot of people have, so people should address it. B, it is something a lot of people have. I don't think it's necessarily as like, I don't think it should be fear mongered the way it potentially is. It's very actionable. And it's also like your methylation is driven by your overall diet and lifestyle. So basically, yes, I do blood work to see where I'm at. Like in my current supplement line, I launched with serapeptase. Did I give you that?
You did.
One?
That's a silkworm?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And so that's something you're not going to test for. But basically, it's a proteolytic enzyme created by the Japanese silkworm. You take it in the fasted state and it goes into your bloodstream and it breaks down problematic proteins because in the silkworm, it breaks down the silkworm's cocoon. So what's great about it is that it breaks down non-living tissue, not living tissue. So when we take it, it basically breaks down non-living, dead, dysfunctional proteins. And a lot of health conditions are related to your immune system reacting to these protein buildups. So it will clear your sinuses. It will help with inflammation, helps with cholesterol, amyloid plaque, although that's a whole tangent, but so many things. But that's something you're not going to really like test for on a blood test. You're just going to notice how you feel. So some things you have to be more intuitive with, or like NAD supplementation, for example. Lots of debates on that, but that is something that I just feel a difference when I use an NAD patch, especially if I'm going out and drinking a little bit more, like the next day, I really notice a big difference with that, for example.
Yeah. I mean, you connected us with Ion later, so they're now on a Lively. And based on your recommendation, I mean, I tried it. Lude did it, and the first night his HRV went up like 60%. It's like, I don't think it's psychosomatic because I didn't expect this to be a result of it.
Yeah.
One of our other prior guests, Kelly Kruger Brooks, she called me up while we were at Eudaimonia and said, "You saved my life." Like, what are you talking about? She said, "Well, I had this 8-hour TikTok live session and those kill me and it was awful. But I remembered you told me about these NAD patches. I put one of those on. I woke up and I feel amazing today. And it's great because I have to do another one tomorrow." Like, wow, there's really something there. So whether it's psychosomatic or not, I mean, who cares? If you feel better for something like that, even if there's not a marker and you wake up and you're like, yeah, I feel great, that seems like a win to me.
I know, I definitely think so. Literally the only thing for the who cares is the price point.
The price, yeah. They're
the barrier to entry with that.
I wonder with all this though, if, over time price should go down on all this stuff, I would think.
I think so. Hopefully with the NAD for sure. And it's funny. So there's precursors to NAD. Do we need to like define what this is for listeners?
Oh, yeah, probably. Because I think early episodes I would reference like CGMs and people were like, I don't even know what that is. So yeah, it's probably, if we're going to use acronyms, probably helpful. Yeah.
So NAD, it's basically it's a master metabolic coenzyme in your body. It's involved in essentially everything, like every energetic process in your body requires NAD. There's this whole NADH like ratio. It's very complicated, but the point is, there's a lot of theories that aging, disease, all of these things are related to reduced NAD. Things like stress, alcohol, all of that will reduce your NAD as well. So you can boost your NAD levels directly with NAD if you use patches or do injections or do IVs. You can also use precursors like NMN or NR to take those orally, and then they'll convert to NAD. And the whole like camp is very debatey, especially there's like the NMN camp and the NAD and the NR camp. In any case, I notice a ton personally from the NAD patches, and NMN has been like the FDA tried to like take it off the market, but it recently came back on. So I'm hoping I can make an NMN supplement soon. Maybe we shall see.
Yeah, I took NMN for years, and then I saw some other research, and it was questionable. So I ended up stopping on that one personally. But I did start the patches per you.
Oh yay! No, I love those patches. I really do feel them. I really do.
Yeah. So, I mean, speaking of like feeling them, the energy side. So one's how we fuel our body. What about how you move your body? What does your fitness movement routine look like kind of day to day, week to week?
Yeah. So I think movement is so important. We are so sedentary today. And it's correlated to, and probably causational, but related to so many health issues. It's just not good. I think some people, kind of going back to the diet, which I don't know if I actually said this with the diet piece, so I'll say it now, which is I really think people have to find the diet that works for them. So you got to do you. I do not think there's one right diet. If there was one right diet, I think we would have found it by now, and it would work for everybody, like all the time.
Even for you, I'm not sure it's static. Right? Depending on seasons of life and needs, like you may build reactivity. There's a certain big supplement that I took religiously daily for years, and then I developed an allergy to it. So that's not a thing I take anymore. Right? So we change. Not every person's the same, but we're not the same necessarily year to year either.
I'm so glad you said that. And I think something else common that happens with a lot of people is they will make, especially they'll go from like the standard American diet and then they'll adopt one of these diets. So carnivore, vegan, something, and they'll experience so many health benefits because of what they're cutting out, because of maybe nutrients they're missing. So then they confuse that diet being the answer with all of the little factors that changed by adopting that diet. So then when if it stops working or if they need to adjust, they think the diet they're on is the answer. So they're like hesitant to adjust. So I love what you said. I think like changing with the seasons, listening to your body, being open to change is so important. So I think there are some people that do really, really well with lots of intense exercise, like cardio at the gym, gym junkies, all of that. I am not that. So I think some people, that's not their thing per se. And my, especially like in the cardio world, because I recently read Born to Walk by Mark Sisson and Brad Kearns. And that is mind blowing. That will completely change your thoughts on how beneficial is chronic cardio and running and marathons. And I forget, are you a runner? Like, do you do marathons?
I was a swimmer. Yeah. But after listening to that episode, I did get a walking pad for under my desk. So.
Oh, nice. Awesome. That episode blew my mind, especially things like the marathon, like how they came up with it. It's so arbitrary.
To go by the queen, we're like, well, we got to add this a little bit on.
Yeah. It was like a completely random, it was like a number. It was not based on, it wasn't accurate because there's like this idea that the marathon guy in Greek like ran that amount of miles and then he died. That's not actually accurate. He didn't actually die. He actually ran back. So it should be longer. But then actually like doing that number was going to be one number, but then like the queen wanted the marathon to end right in front of her palace. So then they like changed the number. Like it's so arbitrary. It's crazy. And running marathons might not actually be the best thing for you health-wise. That said, I think moving all throughout the day is really, really important. Like I know you and I are not moving right now, but I think it's really important to not be sitting for long periods of time. Supporting muscle mass, going back to muscle, I think is so important. So if that's like lifting weights, doing that, for me, I like to just make my life really heavy. So I wear weights around, like when I'm doing errands or like cleaning my apartment. You've probably heard me talk about this before. This sounds silly and like it wouldn't do anything, but you would be surprised if you like switch all of your cookware and plates and things like that out with cast iron. Like just like making things in your life heavy is nice to like get stimulus and like not using a grocery cart, carrying all your bags.
Yeah.
And then I also do a lot of M-Sculpt. I do love M-Sculpt, which is muscle stimulation to grow muscle, like while laying there.
Do you do DEXA scans or anything? Like, do you look at bone density? Because I'd be curious with that making your life heavier, what that does in terms of bone density. And maybe that's more supportive doing it in all these different ways versus just like a 60-minute gym session a couple times a week.
It's so funny. You're the second person to ask me that within a week. I haven't done one in forever. So I need to, I'm back. I need to, there's like no excuse. I need to make that part of my regular habit. Do you do one?
I've never done a DEXA scan.
Okay. So you and I both.
Yeah.
Are failing.
Yeah, so I need to check that out. Other people do. I go back and forth on some of the things tracking, like what metrics are really, really important. Cause it's like, okay, is my body fat percentage from 1 or 2.1 one way or the other? Like, I don't know. I'm pretty healthy. Like I don't know if I need that level of granularity. I think there is, for me, and maybe you're someone on the bone density thing, as a swimmer, we have lower bone density than sedentary people because we spent so much of our life in a gravity-less environment that we actually have less than people who just sat around because at least they had gravity pushing on them while they were sitting. And so that's, with my daughter, one of the reasons I now started training some, she wants to do high jumping, long jumping. I started doing more of the impact with her to one, help her, because that's when you start building the bone density, but two, for me, so I can try to get more of that into my life as well.
That so interesting that that never occurred to me. That completely makes sense. Yeah.
It didn't. I only learned it, a couple months ago with Chad from some guys I swam with.
And then on top of that, I know, especially like DEXA scans, I think apparently it's like really important that you test with like the same hydration levels that you are testing every time, the same
time of day. All this stuff. Yeah.
It's like the scale. If you think about it, like weighing yourself, there's so many factors that go into that number.
I remember in college, I would have practices where I'd swing 8 pounds within practice. Like you could lose that much water weight. You're just sweating so much. It's a long practice. You're there 3 or 4 hours.
Wow.
So what's the rate number? What's the real number if it can swing that much? I'm curious on the weights. Like, is it ankle weights or what? What do you have when you say, "Hey, I wear them around"? What is it that you actually use there?
Okay, I went through a period where I was like crazy, and I was wearing ankle weights, like the big ones, like big, but like the really heavy ones, wrist weights, and I would wear like a weighted vest, like to the store. I don't do that anymore. Now I pretty much wear wrist weights like on my arms. I kind of like cap out there. Yeah. But I went through a phase. I do think though it's really important, like just picking up stuff and this is like, there's lots of like little tweaks you can do that make a big difference when done repeatedly and consistently, kind of like switching out your stuff for cast iron. Like just even when you're like on the floor, if you're like bending down for whatever reason, or getting off the floor, like pushing up with your leg, like pushing yourself up with your legs, not from your back or from your, like little things, like little adjustments like that, you can really help optimize your body composition through the years.
And I get on the long distance stuff, right? Especially from that Born to Walk side. But, I also, from your interview with Dave Asprey, on the rehit side, on like, hey, actually it's this 5-minute thing that you do super, super high intensity. Have you played with the Carol bike or anything like that on that side of things?
Okay. Yeah. So I love Carol. So for listeners, it's a bike, an exercise bike that is set up to do this rehit, this high intensity interval training. And it uses AI to adjust the pedal resistance to help you get this ideal workout. And it tells you like when to run and when to stop. And what's really funny, have you tried it, by the way?
I haven't tried it, no.
Okay. What's cool about it is that it acts like you are a hunter-gatherer in the wilderness. So it's like you're walking like through and then it's like a tiger's coming. Yeah. And then when a tiger comes, it like flashes red and it's like, run, like your family needs you. It's like a whole experience.
Okay.
But it's supposed to give you like the ultimate workout to support VO2 max, longevity, and all the things. It's amazing. I completely endorse it. The only reason I stopped doing it was actually building. Okay. I'm just thinking about how I just like honestly just tell all the things about my life. I didn't like what it was doing to my legs. It was building a lot of muscle in my legs, and I prefer the more svelte. And it wasn't like going well with my like Taylor Swift bodysuit. So
Okay. Well, yeah. So depending on the listener, right? They hear that and like, oh, wait,
I know, no,
you didn't want the muscle and he was giving you too much. I definitely want this. And other people are like, yeah, that's not for me.
What's so funny, I think about it a lot because I feel like different people like body parts certain ways. So like my sister, for example, have you met my sister?
I've not met her. I mean, I've definitely seen a lot of her.
We need to all hang out in Atlanta.
Yeah.
Yeah. She like loves, like, she's like all about like the legs. So like, it'd be perfect for her. Like the muscly leg look. No, it's amazing. And so to answer your question about, I do think high intensity interval training, especially this rehit, can be a really great way to get the maximum bang for your buck when it comes to cardiovascular health, VO2 max, without over stressing your body, which this chronic endurance cardio tends to do, and tends to actually lock you into a carb burning state, not a fat burning state.
This is something I'd be curious your take on. It is something I've been thinking about, kind of bouncing back and forth with for a while. And coming from competitive athlete background, right? Like, you competed to be the best. And then now I told myself, hey, I'm just doing this to be healthy. And yet, like, trying to move to top VO2 max and top muscle mass and all these things. And then realized the time that goes into it, or the thought that goes into it, what is that taking away from other things? And if I really care just about health, health span, longevity, 30, 40% of this effort would get me 80 or 90% there. And how much of this how intense do I need to be on it? And so I'm curious, your approach on all the things across, is it more, I'm trying to optimize every single thing, right? Like each molecule, all of this, or it's, I want to do this 80-20. These are the big buckets I care most about because that's where I'm going to get the most benefit. But you know what? I really want to just have fun too, because this is my one life. Like, how do you think about those two things?
Yeah, no, it's such a great question. Because there's definitely like the Brian Johnsons of the world. So he's, known for literally trying to optimize every single thing. And I have had my own personal journey with that for sure. I think what's interesting is when I first found the whole biohacking world, I came there out of fear a little bit. I felt sick and I felt unwell and I wanted to feel better. So I was trying all of these different things and they would work and it was great and it was amazing. And it was also a fear mindset because then I felt like I had to do all the things to like be healthy. And once I reframed, feeling better really helped. So once I got feeling a lot better and reframed to think, not that I have to do these things, but I get to do these things that make me feel awesome. That was really amazing. And the way I approach it now, and I haven't really thought about it to this extent, but I think everything that I'm doing, I try to do to the best that I'm doing it. And it's all things that I love doing. So it's not like I feel like I have to do it. That said, I will not do the things that don't make me feel well. So I'm very intense about that. So I have really intense, and we'll probably talk about this, like parameters around sleep and parameters around how I drink when I go out and all the things. So I'm sort of like an extremist all or none type person. So I do have really intense boundaries and guidelines for how I live my life. But then within that, I don't feel pressured to do all the things. I try to be flexible within the boundaries, and I don't stress about having to do all the things perfectly all the time. That's overwhelming.
So speaking of which, we talked about, hey, we have pretty different approaches on food. And I think one of the first areas that we saw we were pretty different is our sleep schedule.
Oh, yes.
So take me through how you approach sleep and recovery. Let's start with sleep. And then I do want to ask you some questions on recovery, because I know you have lots of toys and tools and things that I have too, and how you think about those. But let's start with sleep, because I am really curious here.
Yes. So for listeners, Andrew has my ideal sleep cycle. Like, I want to be you with sleep. Because you're like up in the morning, like good to go. I want to be the morning person. I do think, kind of like with diet, kind of like with exercise, sleep, I think, is very individual. I definitely think there are different sleep chronotypes. Did you meet Dr. Michael Bruce at Eudaimonia?
No.
Okay. He's amazing. He wrote The Power of When, and some other books.
I love that book. Yeah.
I can introduce
read that
you.
Years ago. Yeah.
He also has a new book coming out. So he'd probably love to come on the show.
Okay. He was Matthew Walker before Matthew Walker in my mind. Like, he had that space before Dr. Walker came out with Why We Sleep.
He's amazing. And I got to meet him in person. I already knew I'd had him on the show twice, and then I met him in person at Eudaimonia, and I got to hang out with him so much, and he's just like incredible. So he came up with the idea of these 4 sleep chronotypes, and it's basically, you are the stereotypical early bird, which he calls a lion. There's the night owl, which he calls the wolf. I haven't thought about this in a long time, so I'm trying to remember.
There's a bear.
There's the bear. Yeah, that's like the general everyday, like society normal hours. And then there's the dolphin, which is me, which is not any of those. We basically don't sleep well and unlike all the other ones, we get like a cortisol spike in the evening, like regardless.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Because like even the wolf, even the night owl wolf, their cortisol levels go down at night. It's just way later that they go down compared to the dolphin, like me. We just like wake up. He called it the dolphin because the dolphin, it's kind of like how the dolphins in real life, like never completely sleep, like half of their brain's always awake. So in any case, and the reasoning that he provides for this is that evolutionarily as humans, there always had to be somebody awake to like protect the tribe. So if we all had the same sleep cycle, that would not be good because everybody would be asleep and then not good. Yeah. So I think honoring that is really important. And so for me, I'm like on in the evening and I go to bed really late and I wake up late and I still work on my guilt, which I give to myself from how I perceive society wants me to be. I work on that.
Yeah, but I mean, I think this is the beauty of you being an entrepreneur. Like you dictate your schedule. I mean, I normally record because this is around me at a totally different time of day, but you're like, no, here's the time I record, right? So we did it at 5:00 because you can, like you created your own life. If you had to go to an office job, it'd be a different thing. But when you say it's late, I mean, we're talking like 2:33 we go to sleep based on text, or like what time are we talking there?
Yeah. Okay. So first of all, thank you for doing it at this time. Second of all, it's so funny. Literally, not like you sound like my mom, but that's what my mom always says. She's like, Melanie, she's like, you were born this way. And she's like, as long as you can do it as like an entrepreneur with your schedule, like why not? So thank you for validating. Yeah, it's okay. So like in my dream world of still being my circadian rhythm, I would go to bed at like 2 or 3 and wake up at like 11. Sometimes we do that. It's often later.
Okay.
On both ends.
Got it.
So
makes sense. And then do you have a nighttime routine? Because like Apollo Neuro, I know is part of what you do. You have your sauna, right? Your infrared like bed thing. So take me through how do you take from that high cortisol spike late? How do you take it down? What works for you?
Yes. Okay. So I think honoring your sleep and having a wind down routine is one of the most powerful things that people can do. It's so important. So sleep is so important, especially it's ironic because there's this hustle culture and this idea that I'll sleep when I'm dead and like the most successful people don't sleep. I beg to differ. I think successful people don't sleep. I think the most successful people value their sleep and like protect it. So for me, first of all, light exposure today is just so messed up and it really affects our circadian rhythm. So blue light tells our bodies to be awake. It stops the production of melatonin, like we were talking about earlier, melatonin. So everything you can do to control your light exposure to support your natural circadian rhythm, I think is really important. So at night, actually it starts when you wake up. So when you wake up in the morning or afternoon, getting UV exposure, like not UV exposure, like UV light, like natural light from the outdoors, getting that in your eyes is really important. And then I like to use red light I actually run it all day, but using the red light as like ambient lighting can help combat a lot of that blue light. And then fast forward to the evening, I use a lot of red light. I wear blue light blocking glasses when it's winding down. I do like you mentioned, I do a sauna session. I do a cryotherapy session during the day. And then at the evening, I do a sauna session. I have a sunlight in. Have you been connected to them?
I have not. No.
Oh, we should connect you to them too. Okay. They make my favorite infrared sauna. And so they make cabin units, but then they also make the one I have, which is called the Solo. And it's basically like, it's a hard shell. It's not a sauna blanket. It's a hard shell contraption. Yeah, I can see it in my video. You lay down inside of it and your head's out of it. So I can like do work like while laying there. It's amazing. So I do that every night. That actually helps support sleep because it raises your body temperature and then your body compensates afterwards to cool you down, which actually cools you down later. And you need to have a cooler temperature to like fall asleep. So I do that in the evening. I wear like I said, blue light blocking glasses. And then when it actually comes to sleep, having a sleep environment, like keeping it cool, I keep it at like 61 degrees. It's funny, even during the winter, I run the air conditioner and the maintenance people were so confused because I think they're probably not used to like keeping the air conditioners topped off in the winter.
Yeah.
So I like submitted a maintenance request. I was like, I think they need to replace the Freon because it's out. And they were so confused. They were like, don't you mean the heater? I was like, no, the AC. I need the AC. Blackout curtains, really important. Earplugs, face mask, sleep mask. Oh, I finally started using mouth tape.
Okay.
I don't know why it took me so long to like do this. I started doing it during the day actually. And have you tried it like during the day?
I haven't tried it during the day. See, my issue, everybody I tell it to does it and they love it. For me, I start breaking out and it's not where the tape is. I've tried all these different brands. There's something about my skin. It's all on the outside of where the tape is. I don't know why, but after I do like 10 days to 2 weeks of mouth tape, my face starts breaking out. And then I stop for 2 weeks and my face totally clears up. It's something around mouth taping makes my skin break out. I don't know why.
Oh, wow. Have you tried Lunasol is the brand I'm trying right now. They make like an X that doesn't even really.
Okay. I had an, maybe that's one I had that. I had hostage tape. I had just using the 3M. I had the one my dentist that I did my homeo block with gave me. Like I've tried very expensive, all different kinds of tapes, and it drives me nuts.
Okay. Well, maybe it's just not in the cards for you. But yeah. I was meeting with an oromyofacial therapist because I have like TMJ issues. And so I wanted to like, that was mind blowing. I did an intake form. I learned so much about like my mouth and like my face. But in any case, she asked me if I do mouth taping and she said to start during the day because she said people will just like start mouth taping at night and actually not a good idea because they might have a deviated septum. They might not be like breathing. So they actually can be, you got to like ease into it for some people.
Okay.
So I was like, oh, I'll do it during the day. I did it. So now I do it in my sauna sessions and it's crazy having it on there for like an hour. I feel the first time I did it, I felt high. I was like, what is happening? Like just only breathing through your nose. Yeah. So that's a tangent, but that's something people can do at night as well. And then you mentioned like the Apollo Neuro. You're wearing one right now.
Yeah. It's going off.
Isn't it like the best thing ever? I'm obsessed with it.
I love it. I invest in the company. Like I believe in it, but I don't know if you've ever tried the Sensate or talked to them.
What? Sensate?
It's spelled sensate, but apparently it's pronounced Sensate, but it's this it looks like a little egg-shaped thing you kind of wear on a necklace. And it's part somatic. So it goes with some music and sounds, right? You have your headphones and you can do from 5 to 30 minutes of it. And then it vibrates at these different pulses. And the 2 days after I got it, my HRV went up more than 30%.
Oh, wow.
Like it was immediate impact. I'm a fan of both. I wear this. I didn't know until I heard you interview the founder to wear it on my ankle. So I started wearing it on my ankle at night. I always said the wrist. Yeah. Yeah.
Actually, I've never worn it on my ankle. Yeah. He did say, is it different for you on the ankle?
I think so. Every now and then I knock it off, but I think I notice it less. So I think I'm probably getting the same, for me, he cited some numbers on the extra sleep. I've never gotten that much. Mine's like 18 to 20 something minutes extra sleep according to it, thanks to it. But maybe this is TMI for everybody, but I used to get up like twice a night to pee. And I've definitely cut back on drinking like after 4:00, not alcohol, but just like drinking anything. I don't have water with dinner or anything. And now I don't do it. But I think maybe this has helped that too.
Oh, wow.
Because it's helping me stay asleep. I'm not waking up with that story in my head and I just sleep through the night, which is a big, big thing.
That's so interesting. That's something I could work on. My problem is I drink a lot of fluid before I go to bed.
Yeah, see, I used to as well. Like I have this massive Yeti, and I would drink like 2 of these by 9 a.m. And then I'd have, my protein shakes and all this. And I just chugged water all day. And I think Elaine Norton had made this comment of that level of hydration is like picking up quarters and giving up dollar bills because of what it's doing to your ability to sleep through the night. And that's actually the more valuable thing. And then Andy Galpin, I want to say on the Perform podcast, talked about especially women and high performing women are overhydrated and with these electrolyte imbalances. I know you're a big Element fan, so you probably have all your electrolytes dialed in, but that overhydration was a bigger problem for all these people that think they're doing the right thing and we overcorrect. And I just cut way back on my hydration, and I don't know, everything's better.
That's interesting. I am with hydration. I am all about being intuitive. Like I feel like our thirst mechanism is probably pretty accurate. The reason I drink so much before bed is I like having natural calm. Is it called natural calm? It's the magnesium drink. It really helps with my digestion and going to my like bowel movements and all those things. So I drink a lot of that before bed, and yeah.
I'm curious. So you mentioned your sister and us all hanging out, and community seems like a big thing for you, right? Like on your podcast, you're like, hey friends, and you're always posting out and about, really promoting people with your sister doing amazing things, knowing the importance, because this was kind of a newer learning to me of social connection and its importance to our health, right? They were saying loneliness is the new smoking. It's like smoking 15 cigarettes a day. Like there are real physical and mental impacts from not having that social connection. And as someone who literally is going to spend your life in this biohacking space, is that something you proactively think about and cultivate, understanding its importance? And if so, how do you do it?
It's kind of interesting. It's kind of like Alzheimer's and dementia formulation, or people getting Alzheimer's and dementia. I know people who lose their hearing, it's a risk factor for that. And one of the theories behind that is that it might have to do with losing that social connection to people. And then just in general, social connection seems to be really important for protection of the preventing cognitive decline. There was one study that looked at all the blue zones and trying to figure out the thing most correlated to longevity. And one of the studies found that it was the amount of social interactions you had per day, not like the amount of social interactions you have, but like the amount of like individual, like talking to different people that you had. So I think social connection is so important, and it definitely supports our mental health, our cognition, releases feel good neurotransmitters, and kind of like every other topic, if people are sensing a theme here, I think it's very individual. So some people, kind of like the whole extrovert, introvert, omnivert, some people I think need more social interaction to feel like to get the amount of social interaction they need. Like they thrive off of that. They get energized by that. So they need to be seeing people or going out like multiple times a week. Like that's what they need. Some people need way less. So like for me, I'm good if I like to go out like once a week is my ideal. I get my social kick. I feel fulfilled that night. I do feel like I have to not recover from it, but the reason I feel like I'm an introvert is that I have to build up again after intense social interactions, even though I love being there. I think introvert versus extroversion isn't so much about being shy or anything like that. It's about, does having social interactions and going out and being with people make you more energized, or does it actually drain you a little bit?
And there are different flavors of that too. Because I mean, I know like when you go out, a lot of times it's a big production, right? Like it's a big event. You have the tickets, there's the dress, there's all this stuff around it. So it is, there's more that goes into it. So I could see that being much more draining than you're meeting up with 2 people for a coffee, right? Like it's a different kind of social interaction, I would imagine.
Yeah, no, definitely. Yeah, there's definitely, when it's a whole event, there's like way more energy. I also, though, so like podcasts, for example, I will not do 2 podcasts in a day. Even if it's going on somebody else's show, I won't do it I won't do 2, because like even this, because I don't want to say draining because that makes it sound negative, but like this a social and a really intense engaged social interaction for me, I have to monitor how many I do. So yeah, it's because how about you? Like, do you like going out a lot? Like what's your?
I was having this conversation this weekend. So it's funny. I always think of myself, not always, but in the past 10 years, I've thought of myself as an introvert because I'd rather be in small groups and one-on-one conversation like this. This is what I like. But every single time I've ever taken that test, I've been off the charts extrovert.
Oh,
and when
really?
I went to McKinsey and you do MBTI, I was the most extrovert, like into people couldn't convert. Like it was just so over the top. And what I can't ever figure out is, am I playing a role? Because each of those times I love it when I'm in it, but I find it so draining. Like I need time to come down off of it. So even no matter how late we'd get back from going out that night, I'd need to stay up for a little bit just to come down from it. And then I'd be right back at it the next day. So I really don't know. Like first know thyself. And I don't think I know myself on that realm. I think I'm an introvert, but the data keeps telling me otherwise.
That's so interesting. And actually to that point, it's funny because when I go out, I think people think because I'm such a night bird or night owl, that, I can come back late and like, it's all good because I go to bed late anyways. But like you, I have to wind down. I have to have like my wind down routine. So I can't just like come back and like go to bed. It's not going to work. I feel like you're an omnivert.
Yeah. Omnivert, what's a chameleavert, right? Like I can just play to I think there's a lot of me that just like plays to the environment, and I, without necessarily consciously recognizing it, adapt myself to be suited to the environment I'm in and what other people may want or need. I think this doesn't need to be a therapy session for me.
Oh man, yeah. I do love therapy, but by the way, I really support therapy.
Well, speaking of, okay, so on that and mindset. So I know when on your podcast, you always close saying, hey, I've increasingly learned the importance of mindset. And so ask people what they're grateful for. But when you're talking about therapy and mindset and managing stress, like there's cortisol, there's some biological side, but there's also breath work and other physiological things that we can do to manage those. How do you manage your mindset and stress? Is there a proactive thing you do, or do you have certain practices, whether it's journaling or breath work, meditation? Like, what do you do on that front?
I think mindset, again, so important. And again, so unique to everybody. I'm also very haunted by the like nurture versus nature, role of childhood, all those things, because I know like for me, I've really always been a glass half full positive mindset for as long as I can remember. And I'm very grateful for that because especially like when I read all these books and interview these people about changing your mindset. And I'm just so grateful that that's not something I have to really intensely work on. I have fear, I have anxiety, I have all of that, but my underlying perspective on life is very positive. So I'm grateful that I feel that way. That said, stress and anxiety, I definitely, so like on the spectrum of like, if you're having a spectrum of like anxiety versus depression, and I realize people can have both, but I very rarely ever feel things on the depressed side of things, but I will get anxiety for sure. And I think there's basically two big ways of addressing this, like two camps, because there's, bottom up, top down. So top down ways like working on your thoughts and your, cognitive behavioral therapy and therapy sessions. And I think that's all amazing. I think these all work is the point. So there's that. And then there's like bottom up. So that's where things like you mentioned breath work and like wearing the Apollo Neuro, which we didn't even say what it does. It does gentle vibrations that stimulates your parasympathetic nervous system, which helps you like calm down and rest and digest and all of that. So I think it's exciting. There's so many tools out there that can help you with stress. And I think you have to find the ones that work for you. Oh, like meditation, that would be on the cognitive, the top down side of things. So like for me, meditation, I did like a meditation course. I feel like I learned really good skills that I implement daily as far as noticing my thoughts, but like an active ongoing meditation practice just it's like not my jam. I sort of wish it was because I don't know, it seems like really cool, but I've never like really connected with it. That said, I connect really well with things like the Apollo Neuros, like the gentle vibrations, things like breath work helps me a lot, and just having a lot of paradigm shifts about core beliefs. I think that's really, really important. So like, how do you perceive uh, very basic things, and how do you engage in life? So like, not catastrophizing, not making assumptions. Like, there's a lot of like thought patterns you can recognize, and when you change them, it can be just really beneficial. But yes, I think mental health is so important, and you got to find what works for you.
I mean, yeah, like with fitness, like with nutrition. I mean, people say, "Oh, I don't like vegetables." I'm like, okay, what do you mean? Well, I hate asparagus. Like, okay, so you don't hate vegetables, you don't like asparagus. There's a whole world of plants out there. Or I don't like exercise. Why? Because I hate weightlifting. Oh, well, there's actually this whole world of different ways of moving your body. And I guess it's the same what you're saying, not just the top down or bottom up, but within that, there are infinite flavors of what is it that helps you regain that equanimity and get back to that stillness in yourself, whether it's breath work or meditation or a walk through nature, whatever it is, just finding what's right for you.
Exactly. Like, so I'm actually, one of the things that probably helps me the most is having my really intense quote biohacking routine every day. So doing my cryotherapy, I find amazing for my mood. So doing cryotherapy, having my sauna session, respecting my sleep boundaries, all of that really helps color my mental health and wellness. And the fasting, doing intermittent fasting, that may be one of the things that has had the most profound effect on my mental health and wellness, honestly.
It looks like wearing an aura ring, right?
Oh, yes.
Okay. So for your aura, what do you want to get from it? What do you get from it? Right? You're tracking. What is it helping you with? What are you looking to do with it?
Yeah, it's funny. So I dragged my feet on getting an aura ring because I thought it was going to make me neurotic. I was like, I don't want something that's monitoring my sleep and everything I do all the time and telling me that I didn't sleep well, or yeah. So, but then I interviewed the founder. So I was like, I got to get one now. Or this, I don't know if was he the founder? At the time, he's not there anymore. In any case, so what I love about aura specifically is the way it talks to you. So like the language that it uses is very encouraging. So it never, even if you don't sleep well, it never makes you feel like the world is ending. And what it shows you, for listeners, it shows you your heart rate variability, which is it's a marker of how well you're adapted to stress. It has to do with the amount of time in between heartbeats. And what can be a little bit counterintuitive is you might think that you want consistent time between heartbeats, but that actually signifies a stress state. Because if you think about it, like when you're stressed, that's when it's like your heart's like pumping, 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 compared to like going with the flow and like, like having a little bit of difference there. So that's what heart rate variability is. It monitors that. It monitors your sleep, like how you went into the different sleep cycles. It looks at your body temperature, your activity levels, your respiration, all the things. I use it mostly to monitor probably my readiness scores. So like when you wake up in the morning or afternoon, it tells you how your heart rate variability is and what is your readiness score. And it kind of gives you a good picture of like, how are my lifestyle habits affecting me? I do like seeing how things affect sleep, especially if I like play with a different dietary choice the night before. I do like to see that I'm getting ample movement with the steps. I kind of just use it as, I don't neurotically analyze it or look at the data. It just kind of makes me feel, it makes me feel like I'm, monitoring everything I'm doing. So.
And so because you introduced me to Katie and what they're doing with Reputable, do you use it a little bit as in a one at times too, of like, hey, I'm going to try this new supplement or, the Apollo Neuro or whatever it is, and see before and after on the data? Yeah.
What's interesting, it kind of usually happens kind of like something you were saying earlier. I sort of will notice it afterwards. Like I'll try something new, and I will not intentionally track or check on aura, but then I'll be like, oh, like that actually made a difference. So it's more retroactive. I don't typically like consciously try to to do it. I will say, I think one of the more fun things about it is I really like how it can monitor sickness progression. So for example, when I got COVID, which I had twice, it was fascinating to watch COVID on my Oura ring because it saw it coming for sure. It was like something's coming. And then when I had the actual symptoms lasted for, I don't know how long they lasted now, like 3, 4, 5 days. I could see how low I got with my readiness and my sleep, and then I could see myself recover. So I really like it for that.
On a macro level, it's going to be pretty telling where this can go. I mean, I had a friend with his Apple Watch. He got diagnosed with stage 3 cancer, and going back and looking at the data, it was his resting heart rate was kind of up and down over years. And then there was this pattern of just up, up, up. And it matched exactly with the timing that they said, yeah, we think you've had it since this date. And it was exactly when that went up. And I had another friend with his Oura ring who had a stroke. And he was like, in retrospect, the 10 to 14 days prior, you could 100% see something was going on. Something was about to happen, but only when you look back. So I don't know if over enough time, you get enough of those cases that we can diagnose ahead of the time. Like, whoa, okay, this is starting to happen. You really need to go check something out right now.
Wow. First of all, I'm so sorry about your friends. That's really not good. Yeah, no, it's really, really fascinating. And when I first got, like I said, when I first got COVID the first time, that's when I was like, oh, it really does. It really knows. Like it knows.
Well, Melanie, you do so much. It's interesting because you have experts, right? But they're typically expert in such a narrow field. And you get expert in all their different fields across. And so what you do, I think, could be really intimidating to other people who are coming into this, right? Because one, it's not their kind of full-time job and passion and everything. And so they haven't seen how it's built over time, what comes in and comes out over time to get to where you now are. For someone who wants to start this journey, but may be intimidated, may be overwhelmed, where would you suggest they start?
Literally, I just had this experience with a friend. She finally became open to trying, she wanted to make health changes. She was excited. Well, she was intrigued by this whole biohacking world, and she was super overwhelmed. Because she was like, there's so many things, and it's very overwhelming. And the things I was telling her was just focus on one thing at a time in the beginning that really, really resonates with you. Well, again, going back to knowing who you are. Some people are all or none. So they just want to jump in, do all the things. So there's that type. But for people who can be overwhelmed and don't know where to start, out of all the things, find what resonates with you. Know that if it doesn't work, that's okay. Everything's an experiment. And I promise, because I've seen it happen with me, I've seen it happen with so many people, it can become an upward spiral where it shifts from being overwhelmed to just excitement about all the things you get to try. So finding the things that really connect with you, trying them, and then trying some more things. And then once you get into that free fall mode, you'll just want to try all the things. As far as where should you start, diet, sleep, mental health, wellness, it's such a hard question to answer, and they all are really important. I do think sleep is huge. I'm torn. I'm torn between sleep and then just eating whole foods, cutting out the processed stuff and all this stuff. But sleep is so important. So maybe working on that would be a good place to start. And trying one thing here. First trying the blue light blocking glasses or the blackout curtains, or just trying one thing at a time and then adding more and more.
You can start super, super cheap, right? Before you go invest in blackout curtains, you can get an eye mask. You can get cheap earbuds to block the noise. There are things, and at the base level, just making sure you're getting 8 hours in bed, right? Just starting of, hey, let me build my schedule around this. This is the most important block, and everything else has to fall around.
Exactly. And for the cheap thing, So many of these things have affordable versions. So like cryotherapy, you can start with having a cold blast in your shower. That's free.
It saves money. It's not just free. It's going to save you money. Taking cold showers, you're saving money.
Yes, exactly. So it's all very approachable, doable. And because the stuff actually works, I promise it switches to less overwhelm and more excitement.
Well, thank you so much for this and for all you do. I absolutely adore your podcast. I get so much out of it. I do have to close with long live all the magic we made today. I cannot thank you enough for being here. And yeah, I look forward to getting together in person and meeting your sister sometime soon.
Well, thank you, Andrew. I had the time of my life fighting dragons with you.
Thank you for joining us on today's episode of the Home of Healthspan podcast. And remember, you can always find the products, practices, and routines mentioned by today's guests, as well as many other Healthspan role models on alively.com. Enjoy a lively day.